This is South Branch Bridge, riding the head end of number 28 here, going to Rochester, New York, to 4000 School, rounding the curve at 51st Street. Passing around 55th Street Yard. This is River Branch Junction. Rounding Coal Hour, taking orders at MS here. And approaching HC Tower, which now is known as Hick. Passing under the South Shore and Highway 212, just east of Burns Harbor. And approaching Elkhart Station. Main Street on the Panhandle and eastbound. Going by. And number 66 at the same location. Crossing Main Street on the Panhandle. And number 65 near the same location. Here's a Rock Island commuter, a shot taken from 91st Street Tower. Number 22, traveling past Coal Hour. And number 66 in a picture taken from Burnham Tower. At Hegwish, number 65 is westbound on the SC&S. And when he passes, the mail train number 92 pulls out of the river line eastbound onto the SC&S. Number 456 here between Englewood and CR. And here's number 64 between Alton Junction and Englewood. And somewhere between Englewood and CR, a eastbound passenger train, I don't know the number of. Between Englewood and Alton Junction, now there's a westbound on the Grand Trunk. And here's some eastbound power on the old Pensy here. Same location. And here's an eastbound Grand Trunk coming across to Alton Junction, 21st Street. GM&O switcher heading into Union Station, Alton Junction. Number 66 coming out over South Branch Bridge past our division post, South Branch Bridge block office. There's a United Aircraft turbo train on a demonstration run at the east end of Coal Hour Yard. Westbound freight taken from Wash Heights Tower. There's an eastbound at 125th Street on the Panhandle. And a track inspection car coming across 127th in the Panhandle. There's CG10 entering the Y from the Panhandle to the IHB at Dalton. It's an eastbound freight at West Pullman. Shot taken from the tower. And some light engines, same location. Southbound engines on the CNEI at Dalton. It's an eastbound freight at Airline. Some EJ&E power at Hartsdale. Some views at Burnham. Eastbound C&O. And here's a westbound shot from the tower, Burnham Tower. Here's a shot at Calumet Park, eastbound on the IHB. And another eastbound on the Michigan from Calumet Park Tower. Back at Dalton again. A couple of moves on the CNEI here. Some Mopac power there. And an L&N coming north. Train entering the Y from the Panhandle over to the IHB at Dalton Tower. As is this train here also. Southbound here at Dalton. This is out at Hartsdale. He's an eastbound on the Panhandle. Westbound Erie Lackawanna here on the Western Indiana at Burnham. And on the SC&S, there's a westbound here. Here's an eastbound freight on the Y to the IHB at Dalton. There's a westbound on the IHB. 8 light engines. Power transfer here. There's an eastbound on the IHB at Dalton. L&N, same location, Dalton. And as soon as he clears a northbound, comes by at Dalton on the CNEI, former CNEI. There's some westbound PC light engines, Dalton. And here's CG10 coming around the Y at Dalton to the IHB. This is the SC&S westbound passing the Cal Park home signal. That's the eastbound B&O freight at Dalton. Eastbound on the IHB, Dalton Tower. Westbound coming around the turn, Dalton. And northbound at Dalton on the CNEI. There's a southbound, same location. At Burnham again, westbound, Erie, Lackawanna. Seen at the Grand Trunk Roundhouse at 49th and Kedzie. Dalton Tower once again, the L&N Rick train. CK2 coming around the Y at Dalton taking orders. Eastbound on the B&O at Dalton. Westbound coming by Dalton Tower. Northbound. And this is an eastbound CG10 on the Y to the IHB. Some light engines westbound on the IHB. This is all at Dalton. Westbound B&O. And a caboose on the CNEI. At Hartsdale. Well done. Some of the re-engined center cab Baldwins on the EJ&E at Hartsdale. Train is leaving the Panhandle here and entering the SCNS at Bernice. Orders here at Burnham. That is westbound Erie, Lackawanna. These scenes are, next few scenes are all from Burnham. There's an eastbound at N&W. Followed by a couple of Belt Railway Chicago freights. Eastbound Erie Lackawanna. Eastbound C&O. Eastbound L&N. Westbound Erie Lackawanna. Couple of cabooses having a race. Probably the mail freight coming across at Burnham here. Dalton Tower in this one. Southbound on the CNEI. Some views from Wash Heights Tower. Commuter trains and road trains both. And a piece of MW equipment. There's a westbound on the Panhandle from Wash Heights Tower. Back to the Rock Island again, same location, Washington Heights. The Chicago Bridge and Iron Company, that was just east of Washington Heights on the Panhandle. Next couple of scenes are out at Maynard. Here's an eastbound on the Panhandle. Westbound on the Panhandle. And way out there in the distance is a westbound on the Grand Trunk, looking across the cornfield. The Rock Island had this old engine painted up with a gold nose on for a 50th anniversary. Bottle train somewhere along the Panhandle. Eastbound here on the Panhandle, somewhere around Dalton, east of Dalton. Wreck train. Same location. bottle train again. 91st Street on the Panhandle, Rock Island commuter rounding the curve. Same location, another westbound. An eastbound going by Acme Steel. That's Calumet Park, shot from the tower eastbound on the SC&S. And we'll see a couple of westbound B&O freights from Cal Park Tower. Back to Dalton. There's a caboose hop on the Y from the Panhandle to the IHB. Work train on the B&O there at Dalton. East of Maynard someplace here, a mail train, eastbound. There's an IC at Riverdale going into the Acme Steel. Night shot at Dalton on the L&N. There's an eastbound Dalton. This is the interior of West Pullman Tower, making a lineup. Westbound on the Grand Trunk at Kesey Avenue. There's some views from Taylor Street, the South Joint tracks. Amtrak Turbo coming out. Harrison Tower in the background there. Santa Fe switcher pulling a road train out of the depot going to the coach yard. All Amtrak now. Back at Burnham Tower, so eastbound on the Erie Lackawanna. There's a pheasant taking off at Dalton. He used to do this every morning when I was coming to work. That's on the Mopac at Dalton. On the South Joint tracks here, some RDC cars. And here's the old Polk Street Freight House where I hired out in 1950, the Pennsylvania Railroad being demolished. And we're back at Burnham, Illinois. Here's a westbound on the Chicago and Western Indiana Railroad. Westbound Amtrak. This is at Whiting, Indiana, westbound number 41. Back on the Pensy here. Whiting Depot in the background. Clark Junction. Amtrak number 40 is eastbound here on the old Penn. Miller, Indiana, turbo going along on the former NYC trackage here, Conrail. Back on the Penn again, is making a line up here in Whiting Tower on the main line. Miller, Indiana, former NYC Amtrak is westbound here. A westbound dummy here on Conrail. Amtrak was operating the commuter train at this time. Conrail had given it up. There's a Metro on the Rock Island, same location, Englewood. There's an office car special eastbound at Englewood. And then the second dummy westbound at Englewood, same location. Back out at Miller, Indiana now, looks like an Amtrak is getting an assist from a freight locomotive here, westbound. And River Branch Junction, the Detroit Edison going through the draw, the Calumet River. Hick, eastbound number 364 coming through the bridge. This is on the Danville line near Cook. 7 units on this Santa Fe train. Back on Conrail, Porter Tower on duty here, making a lineup. Hick Tower, eastbound office car special coming through the bridge. And this is Tolliston, the westbound on the Porter branch. 5 units on that Santa Fe. And here's a cable plow burying a plastic conduit for AT&T fiber optic service. This is just west of Nero Interlocking in Gary, Indiana. laying a warning tape along with it. Plow going down. Coming up. See the reels of conduit there in the gondolas.